The Carolina Hurricanes have won their first game of the season, and oh boy, was it a fun one. And welcome to the National, Jackson Blake.
Your Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to a Wednesday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you to the Everyday for making this your first listen of the day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, talking everything about your Carolina Hurricanes. I'm your host, Zach Martin. I'm the Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hockey Writers. Also do a weekly column in the Chicago Wolves starting soon called Wolves Weekly. I'm the co-host of The Surge Cast, which is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all my duties here at Locked On Hurricanes. And oh my goodness, what a fun Wednesday show we're going to have as the Carolina Hurricanes got their first win of the season, 4-2 over divisional rival, the New Jersey Devils, who were 4-1 coming into the game. And what a huge night it was as we had Seth Jarvis getting his first of the season. Also, Jackson Blake gets his first NHL goal of his career, and Pyotr Kochetkov stood tall in net as he only gave up 2 goals, just like Frederik Andersen. So we're going to recap the entire game, give our thoughts on that, talk about Jackson Blake's huge night, and Andrew Rinaldi from the Calder Times joins me to talk about the Chicago Wolves situation as he dropped some videos on Monday and Tuesday that kind of really sparked some interest around the league, that's for sure. But before we jump into a crazy packed Hurricanes win Wednesday and a Chicago Wolves Wednesday, today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. And oh my goodness, like I said, what a great win for the Carolina Hurricanes. Coming in, they're looking to get a bounce back win from the Tampa Bay Lightning game where they lose 4-1, and they come back and put up a 4-2 win of their own. And how about the fact I said limit the penalties? They only had one the entire game, and they gave up 3. I said coming into this game they had to limit their penalties, and they only had 3. I said 1 or 2, but you know what? They only gave up 3. Of course, I think the one on Jackson Blake was very questionable. I don't think that should have been a penalty, so it didn't get the benefit of the doubt, but it does end up where the Devils did have a 5-on-3, did score. They did go 1 for 3 on the night, but the Hurricanes penalty killers did go 2 for 3, so you can't be too upset about it. The Hurricanes only got 1 power play opportunity, but what can you really do? But they did outshot the Devils 32-25, beat them in the face-off circle 55.6 to 44.4%. Not a lot, they didn't throw a lot of hits. They got 19 compared to the Devils' 25 and 16 block shots. But the thing that matter is they put up goals, and they did it in a way that was so great to see. Jack Hughes did get the first goal of the game, but let's not overlook the fact that Seth Jarvis gets his first of the season, 33 last year, gets his first. That is just amazing. An amazing opportunity. Grabs the puck, spins around, uses Dougie Hamilton as a screen to beat Jacob Markstrom for his first of the year. You love to see it from Seth getting his first goal of the season. And then Shane Gotts to spare with 36 seconds left in the period, gets his first. And I know it's October, and beware of the Ghost Bear. As Shane, like I said, Shane Gostisbehere gets his first goal of the season. You'll love to see that. Another great opportunity, another screen, and he put it in the same spot as Seth Jarvis. So you love to see that when you get 2 guys putting in the same goal in the same way, both snipes, both top shelf on the right side of Markstrom. You love to see it, and that's a huge, huge, way to end the period for the Carolina Hurricanes. Down 1-0 early, came back and made it 2-1. And then in the third period, how about Jackson Blake with the great tip-in from Dmitry Orlov. Orlov from the sideboards throws on that. The Jackson Blake, though, how about that amazing tip from him? You could not have put the stick in a better spot. Does. It goes over Markstrom, makes it 3-1 for his first NHL goal. And, man, it's just so great to see for him. Like, he really earned his spot. Killed it all off season. made a way to get himself onto the main roster for opening night. Did okay in the opening night game for all things considered of how that went for the team in general, but comes in, made his presence felt, and got the opportunity he needed to get his first of the Nationals. So congratulations to Jackson Blake for your first NHL goal. Now like I said, the Jersey Devils did come back within one again. Of course, that was a Nico Hischier power play goal when they had a 5-on-3. Of course, some questionable penalty calls against Jackson Blake and a so-so delay of game on Jordan Martinook. But it didn't last very long as Sebastian Aho scores his first of the season for the empty netter, and that is your win. And like I said, Pyotr Kochetkov gets 23 of 25 to get his first win of the season. So now both goalies only gave up 2 goals, and they did it in a fashion that made it work for the Canes, especially tonight. Now, in terms of points, a lot of guys got some points. Sebastian Aho, Seth Jarvis, Andrei Svechnikov, Martinook, Blake, Kotkaniemi, and Martinez all got points. And of course, the goals coming from Blake, Jarvis, and Aho on the forward group. And then in terms of the defense, and they got some points as well. How about Gostisbehere, Orlov, and Slavin? And, Shane Gostisbehere and Dmitry Orlov both +2s. You'd love to see that. And just an overall great all-around effort by the team. In terms of shots, Aho and Blake both tied with 3 shots on the game. Nothing wrong with that. You love to see it. And, oh, by the way, the Jackson Blake goal, how about a game winner for the kid? You love to see it. First NHL goal, and it turns into a game winner. In terms of face-offs, we did have a couple 100% for Martinook and Robinson. Not too bad for getting those opportunities. Jack Drury with a 75% in the face-off dot. How about Sebastian Aho, 71.4 in the face-off circle? What a great night for him. And Jesperi Kotkaniemi, 55.6. Not bad at all for Jesperi having above 50% in back-to-back games. Jordan Stahl with the rare 47.4. But you know what? Hey, can't be elite all the time, but it definitely works out for him and stuff like that. But in terms of the game overall, I mean, you look at how this game was played. Right off the rip, the team it seemed like their forechecking was a lot stronger than it was against the Tampa Bay Lightning. They were all over New Jersey right from the start, not giving them any chances. Yes, the Devils did get up, in the second period to go up 1-0, but just the fact that they kept fighting the entire game, using the body, sticking across the boards, making those board battles a lot tougher, and making it go from you're down 2-1 to now you're up 3-2, and you got the opportunity to put the puck on the net, and you did, and that was the Seth Jarvis goal. And just finding the way to battle more, set up yourself, and get some better opportunities, and that's what they did. And if you look at the Carolina Hurricanes, it's just that's the type of game you want to bounce back from. When you lose to Tampa Bay, you come in, do the job, you beat New Jersey, who was played already 5 games. They're red hot, and that's just one of the things where you look at how it just works out overall. And it's a great bounce back win. You want to see something like that. Like I said, Jackson Blake is his first of his career. Seth Jarvis gets his first of the season. Hopefully you see a lot more from him. Even Sebastian Aho. And hey, it might be an empty net goal, but they don't really care how you do it. It's how many you put in the net. And that's all that really matters in the NHL. Because they don't care how you do it. It's just how many did you put in the net. Because, you want to earn some money, just put the puck on the net. And good things happen, and it does. And like I said, Pyotr Kochetkov, what a great night for him. Gets his first game of the season. I said in the preview, you don't want him sitting until the back-to-back this weekend to start the 6-game road trip. You got Pittsburgh on Friday. You got St. Louis on Saturday. You really don't want him to sit for almost 2 to 3 weeks without some game action. And it worked out. So I was like, all right, they're going to play him tonight. And he comes in and does the job. 23-25, gets the win. You'll take that. You'll take that for Pyotr Kochetkov when you're looking for a win, especially, like I said, when you got the 6-game road trip starting up really soon. And for the fact that it's also a back-to-back this weekend. How about a .92 save percentage? Not bad, all things considered. And the fact, too, is it was 1 power play goal and 1 even strength goal. But, of course, like I said, what can you do when it's a 5, it's a 2-man advantage for the New Jersey Devils. But overall, great win. The Hurricanes, 130 of 30 faceoffs compared to the 24 for the Devils. But it's one of those games, like I said, it's a huge momentum boost, especially when you get your first NHL goal from Blake, you get your first from a bunch of your big boys. Shane Gostisbehere gets his first of the season, and now you're rolling into, like I said, a 6-game road trip that's got Pittsburgh, St. Louis, and then you got Western Canada, and then you're going to Seattle and then back into Vancouver to round it out. So you're talking about a long stretch of games where you're just gone for a long time. And then, you're hoping that this is a good sign of what hopefully the road trip was compared to last year, where you saw them go over 4 in Western Canada. You're hoping that, you go to Pittsburgh, get the job done against Sidney Crosby and the Penguins, go to St. Louis, and then take it out to the West Coast. And, hopefully it works out against Western Canada. But overall, huge win. Of course, 3 stars of the game, Seth Jarvis, no surprise. Shane Goss, the spare 2nd star. And then Jackson Blake. I mean, come on. Are we surprised? I mean, are we really surprised here that Jackson Blake gets the 1st star of the game when it's a game winner for your first NHL goal? Yeah, I think that works out pretty well for him. So overall, great win for the Canes. Super excited for them to see how it worked out for them. And hopefully the road trip coming up soon comes in their favor really, really well. But stick tuned here in a little bit, as I have a special guest coming on. We get to talk about Jackson Blake's first goal, and also get to dive into a very interesting topic that I know a lot of people were already waiting to see if we were going to talk about, and that is Chicago Wolves. So stick here in a little bit as I bring on Andrew Rinaldi, friend of the podcast from the Calder Times. We talk about Jackson Blake and the Chicago Wolves. So stick around for that here on a Win Wednesday and a Wolves Wednesday on Locked On Hurricanes. PrizePicks is the best to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick one. You just pick more or less on the 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long with PrizePicks. Now, you can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. And PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. And PrizePicks puts its members first. So all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money as quick as 15 minutes. So sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's a guarantee. Now, with PrizePicks, it's the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long with PrizePicks. The one thing I like about using is the fact that it's super simple to where I'm like, okay, do I think Justin Jefferson might get 83.5 receiving yards, or is Patrick Mahomes going to pass less than 265 or more? So that's a good option you can have where it's like, okay, it's just yes or no to a certain line, a certain stat, and you just pick it. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Once again, use code LOCKEDONNHL to get a $50 instant bonus after you play your first $5 lineup. And where you can do this, you can do this at PrizePicks. Run your game. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks. It makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. We're not talking about sports. We're talking about concerts, comedy theaters, and so much more. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. One feature that I really like is their seat view finder, because you get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. So you don't got to worry about awkward angles or obstructive views and stuff like that. You automatically get, what you're going to be seeing from your seat before you even buy the tickets themselves. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL. That is LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Well, it's game time. And speaking of game time, welcome back to a segment 2 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. And as I said at the end of segment 1, we have friend of the podcast, Andrew Rinaldi, joining me on this Win Wednesday for the Carolina Hurricanes, and also the 4th edition of Wolves Wednesday. A lot quicker turnaround for this segment of the show than usual, but hey, it's good to always have him back to talk about the Wolves, especially after an interesting couple days. Andrew, How are you doing, brother? Good to see you again so soon.
Interesting is one way to call it, but yeah, we've been doing good. We've been doing good. Had I missed all of last season. I didn't get a chance to get to Chicago, so getting to opening night this year was something really special. And of course, the atmosphere, the crowd. It was
of course,
it was great. So yeah, I'm happy to be back into the rhythm.
Yeah, for sure. And I know the AHL account decided to, throw a photo up of the pyrotechnics, and they thought it was a, huge explosion. Nope, just a different angle. If you actually look on the ice, it's just skates just going through normal pyro. It's just they want to get fancy. Hey, that's why you never use the TV broadcast feed from Flow Hockey or AHL TV, because you never know how the angles might work or how the quality might be. Let's be honest. Nothing against it, but let's be honest.
It's a wild intro in person. I can never get enough of it.
Yeah, especially for sure. When you're talking to Courtney Mahoney and the quote unquote A team of how the hashtag A team that they have out there. Yeah, they do a really good job, especially with Chris Dubiel, doing PA, and of course Jason Shaver on the play-by-play. So it's good to have the Wolves back. Unfortunate, didn't really work out for them, just like the Hurricanes on their home opener. They both lost 4-1, and even the Bloomington Bison lost. So, yeah, just all around, just not a great opening night for the organization in general. Of course, luckily the Bisons are the Rangers ECHL team, but, when you got Bryce Montgomery and Ruslav Kayasev down there, yeah, got to have a little bit of an interesting factor in terms of the Bison, too. But I do have to get your thoughts, though. I know you didn't watch the Hurricanes game, but hey, Jackson Blake got his first NHL goal, and man, was it a beauty. Nice tip from Dmitry Orlov on the sidewall. And, of course, former Chicago Wolf, Pyotr Kochetkov, first win of the season, 23-25. I mean, are we really surprised at this point of how good this kid is?
No, I'm not. I've seen it since like the first 4 or 5 games. I could tell, like, holy cow, this guy's going to be something special. And
yeah.
It might have taken Hurricanes fans a little longer than I did, but I had the pleasure of viewing him a little earlier than they have.
Yeah, I would say you get lucky when you see a Calder Cup run like that, and we're like, cool, yeah, we have Nancy Ronson and Frederick Anderson. Let's go.
Exactly. So it's, I have him on one of my fantasy teams. I love seeing Pyotr succeed out there, and along with all the other former Wolves. I mean, you got Jack Drury, Jalen Chatfield. So it's always special to see those guys graduate from the AHL and to go on and succeed up there at the next level. So I love it. I didn't see Jason Blake's goal, but I've already seen through the Twitter feed, like, everyone loves it.
Yeah.
Everyone loves everyone loves that kid. He was a Chicago Wolf for about 5 minutes, and you know what? That's enough for me. That's got enough for me to be like, all right, I hope this kid has all the success in the world.
Yeah, make sure to throw that Jackson Blake 53 jersey in the back of your Chicago Wolves sweater if you got one for the. That's like friend of the former colleague Zach Power rocking the the Jonathan Quick Columbus Blue Jacket. Gosh, that was a time. If you know, awesome. And that and the fact that you had just the hyphenator tweeting it as well. It's just that was a wild time, but. Yeah, no, it was great to see Jackson. He played well in the first game. Second game, he was all over the place. And, of course, scoring a goal for his first. And, of course, another former Wolf, Seth Jarvis, gets his first of the season. A great turnaround snipe, using Dougie Hamilton as a screen. And Shane Gostisbehere, former Detroit Red Wing, scores his first of the season as well. And the identical placement of a snipe job, top shelf cheese, right above Markstrom. So, I mean, hey, look at that, Andrew. You got a former Red Wing scoring and former Wolves just also scoring goals.
I got a lot of connections on this team. Like
just a little bit. It's like, are you sure you don't want to make the Kings like your pseudo second team just for funsies at this point? Because we have so many Wolves and just connections at this point.
Of course, yeah. Of course, I'm gonna I'll root for him at the end. But at the end of the day, there's only one team that's got my heart. There's
nothing wrong with having a little a side bias too. Because why not, man? Why not? But no, I get you. But yeah, I mean, you'd love to see it for Jackson. You'd love to see it for Seth, and of course, Peter getting the win and stuff like that. So yeah, overall, great night. First win, especially the fact you got Steph Nason coming back to town. And how about him leading the points for the New Jersey Devils? Who would have thought 6 points coming into this game after 5? Now they're 6 games in, but 6 points. Have a start to the season, Steph Nason.
He is elite. So
I mean, yeah, Travis does put it right. You know, if you're on the Twitter sphere of Canes Wolves era, yeah, Travis knows that Steph Nason's elite. I mean, hey, after the points he put up in that Calder Cup run, I mean, he's not really wrong. So, but yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, the fact he put up 4 against Markstrom, Blake's first goal of his career is a game winner. I mean, no better way to do it. Of course, he gets hit with the storm surge. Everyone just surrounds him and just gives him hugs and stuff like that. That's just great to see. But overall, great night for sure. So, I mean, I guess we should start kick this shindig off, and because I know a lot of people were wondering, okay, when is this going to happen? And we're into the Wolves Wednesday part of the show now, and I thought this was going to be a little bit longer than I had Jason Shaver on last week. But, yeah, I guess you decided to make things very interesting, Mr. Andrew Rinaldi. For those who don't know, what did you do on Twitter over the last couple of days?
I didn't do anything. You make it seem like I was the one who said these things. No, all I did was...
No, he didn't. I like to give Andrew a little bit of shtick. He didn't actually. He just posted videos, but of course, he's the one that posted it. So
right. Well, it was all publicly available on the broadcast. I saw that. So on Saturday, I saw at the rink that they were interviewing Don Levin, and I was like, oh wow, that's interesting. I'm sure that he's got some updates on kind of what happened with the affiliation. I'm very interested in kind of seeing what he has that's kind of made these sides come together. Right. And instead, on the first intermission of the first game of what's now a 3-year agreement of this reaffiliation, he decides instead to kind of pour a little bit of gasoline all around that front office in Carolina and just throw in not even just a match. He just takes a whole torch and throws it right into the middle of that thing. I honestly, I was hoping for a kind of like a kiss and make up kind of era where it's like, okay, I understand, that Carolina has their beliefs in how to run this team. Chicago's ownership has the beliefs in how to run this team. But at the end of the day, we got to kind of come together and make this thing work. Don's like, nope, that's not what's going to happen. He kind of threw out, it's kind of, I'm trying to use my word choice here pretty carefully for obvious reasons. Right. Just going after Carolina's management, especially in their backgrounds of all things, not even really their resumes, but more of how these guys never played hockey. So how do they know how to run a hockey team? I mean, granted, he's had Wendell Young there, who had a very storied career and all that. But
I mean,
Carolina's the Eric Tulsky, Darren York, their resumes kind of speak for themselves. So it kind of felt like, okay, Don. Well, we'll get to that, but
yeah, we'll dive into a little bit more. We're going through the what the initial things that were said that definitely raised a lot of eyebrows. I know some people are kind of like, we kind of get where he's coming from, but there's also a lot of fans on the Hurricanes, understandably, and some Wolves fans too are kind of like, I don't know about that first period into the season, but
it's game one. It was game one, and again,
the score wasn't bad. It wasn't like 0-0 or 1-0. I was traveling back from California at the time, so I could play.
It was admittedly it was 1-0 Milwaukee, but I thought Chicago kind of dominated that first period. And
if you look at the shot totals, they did. The shot totals
were in their zone the whole time, and a couple chances went the other way, and a blown defensive assignment ends up in the back of your net. But it's not, again, Levin's up there going, oh, they're going to get run over by Milwaukee. Milwaukee barely had the puck for the most part, and some mistakes from your young players, but that's what's going to happen in this league, and they're going to learn and grow as the season goes on. But again, just setting a powder keg up in game one and just throwing up a straight middle finger to the management of the parent club. I don't understand what there was to gain for him. I don't understand just kind of, you want the best for your hockey team, right? Do you not? Okay. And if your hockey team is now in the hands of this franchise and these guys over here, you gotta say whatever you want behind closed doors, but I don't get what there is positively to go to a camera and say to make these comments.
Yeah, well, the fact that you talk about the players, and a lot of people are like, okay, well, the fans are one thing, but what do you say to the players when it's like it's first period, you're losing 1-0, and it's like, oh, you're talking about getting steamrolled, and then like you say too, like you're going after management, oh, they've never done this before, but it's like, okay, not every team has a Wendell Young just sitting right there. It's like, okay, it's not like Steve, like yeah, the Red Wings got Steve Yzerman. Okay, how's that? No, I mean not. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like not every team works out well with the general manager who's a former player. It's just it does work. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But then with the American League, you saw it last year. It's impossible to be an independent team. And I understand he wants more veterans because you can't have just a ragtag bunch of ECHL guys and some AHL guys. But the problem is you're only allowed a certain number of veterans. You can't just run a whole veteran squad because then you'll pump every team because you have all dudes that could play in the NHL. That's why the AHL's like that. But then it's like he talked about how he met with the president of the AHL, the commissioner, and Gary Bettman, and they're like, "There's no other teams available. You kind of have to go back with the Canes." And then he's talking about, hey, give them 2 minutes, give me a minute. We'd switch partners like that, and I'm like, okay, well, unfortunately, this is just not how the case is, and from what I heard, he was one of the owners that didn't want to give Dundon and them an extra franchise to have Carolina have their 33rd AHL team. So it's like, okay, well, what do you really do then? Because you can't go to anyone else. Carolina's the only one. You kind of blocked them from having their own team. And how can you really say that? Oh, yeah, give me like a chance and I'd switch partners instantly. You signed a 3-year contract, though, so I mean, you really can, but
and they're kind of you look at it just like they're kind of running out of partners at this point. For as long as I can recall, there's been Atlanta, Vancouver, St. Louis, Vegas, and
Carolina twice.
Right? Yeah. So it's been tumultuous to say the least. You're starting to see where a lot of maybe these issues come from, and I still don't understand where there's this belief that Carolina is not setting up Chicago for success at all. I mean, you have Tyson Jost in there who's got 500 games of NHL experience. Ryan Suzuki is no longer that first round pick from last summer's draft that you hope kind of getting the wheels turning. He's played
first goal of the season
exactly in 4 professional seasons. 3 of them, he's about to start his 3rd here in Chicago. Actually, no, sorry. He's about to start his 4th here in Chicago.
Right. Well, you also got Josiah Slavin, who's been there. And Josiah Slavin's been there and done that with Rockford, San Diego, Toronto, and now Chicago. So he's no young pup either.
They're just getting Joakim Ryan. Spencer Martin's been playing pro hockey for 10 years. It's not like we're just taking a bunch of 19 and 20-year-old kids, dropping them into the A and say, okay, here you go. Is it going to take time for them to gel and get together? Of course it is. It's just every team in the AHL is facing this similar kind of situation. That's the nature of this league now in 2024. And I said this when the team went independent, when the team finished dead last, this idea that it's your father's IHL or AHL era, that's just not minor league hockey anymore. And the game has evolved. And we saw last year that they tried going with this mindset and clearly were left behind by the rest of the American Hockey League.
Except for Bridgeport.
Well, we don't talk about Bridgeport. You want to keep running that back continuously until you've completely alienated your fan base? Or I guess do you want to get a crop of promising young players with a good coaching staff and a direction for this team, and then you just blow it all up right on night 1 and just start trashing this entire foundation that's trying to get set up for success for your team? I just don't understand the necessity of any of these comments.
Yeah, because I think it was like Morgan on Twitter. She said, like, what does it say to the players when you hear your owner first period, talking about you getting ran over? And then even Travis said it too. Like, he's like, what does that say to your fan base when you're marketing as it's just a whatever team at this point, and it's like, okay, now you're kind of making it tough for your marketing team to be like, okay, how do we make this work? And like I said, I can understand his perspective of how the playoff in the Calder Cup playoffs went with Ryan Rosofsky and how they want to use Alex Lyon and Pierre Kachekov and all of that. I get where he's trying to come from, but also at the same time, it's like you said, there's certain things you can and can't say in front of a camera and stuff like that. So before we jump into anything else, I know we got a lot more to talk about, because this is not just, here's a quick 10 minutes and that's it. So stick around, guys, as we'll jump into more of the Chicago Wolves, get our thoughts on all of this, because I know a lot of people want the tea. I know Computer and Coin, I know you specifically said you wanted the tea, so we're going to try our best to do that. So stick around as we'll get into segment 3 with a little bit more Wolves talk here in a second on a Wednesday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a bigger turn on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Where can you do that? Well, you can do that at FanDuel.com. Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. So we kind of talked about someone segment 2. We're going to jump into more of segment 3. And like I said, Andrew, you can kind of see where Don is feeling a little bit burned from how the whole Hurricanes try to control the hockey ops side of things with Ryan Rosofsky, and even how all that worked out. They want to go with Alex Lyon, but they wanted Piotr to go in. A lot of things were said behind the scenes. They break apart. They come back together. But at the same time, it's kind of okay, but you signed a 3-year contract. You let the Hurricanes run hockey ops now. You still have the business side of things. So it's just one thing you're not really going to have control over that you had before, but you still have Wendell Young. And I want to preference this too. Wendell Young was not fired by the Carolina Hurricanes. He was just reassigned to a different position in the organization. Let's just make that clear, because I think a lot of people keep getting that confused of firing to reassigning his position from being a general manager. Just putting it out there for people to know. It's not a firing. It's just they put him in more of the business side of things, because the Hurricanes run the hockey ops now. But Andrew, how do you understand? Like I said, I understand where he's coming from on certain aspects of it, but how do you feel about do you think Don's, do you get where he's coming from for the most part when it comes to certain things that did happen between the two sides before the breakup?
Yeah, I get it to a certain degree, especially the nature in which the affiliation kind of had to re-happen.
Yeah.
Chicago has always had its own, its own way of running the team, its own way of running the business. Yeah, they had obviously the prospects that came in from Carolina and everything, but during the Calder Cup year, they Wendell went out, got Richard Panik, a bunch of other really impactful.
They got a bunch of basically got a bunch of. That's why that team was so good, because they had the mix of all the great prospects and then you had all the vets. And I understand you need vets, but at the same time, you got to give the young guys minutes too.
Yeah, and so it's, again, like I said, it's just the nature of this league as is, and going from the way that they operated for 30 years to now Carolina's got its hand in the cookie jar, and I understand where it feels invasive and all that. I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
I don't. What I don't get, again, is the coming publicly and trashing everything that is set up in order to make this team succeed. That's what I don't understand.
Yeah, and like I said, that's what I understand too. And like I said, you can see both sides of where it's like, okay, it's a little kind of harsh coming first game and right out the gate and saying stuff like that. But I also can see where you're kind of hesitant with how it's worked out, because to be fair, if you know from Carolina also doesn't have a great reputation with how it came to how the Charlotte Checker situation ended with Tom Dundon and all that stuff, because they kept asking for money. He's like, well, no, Like, I'm not going to just keep, blowing money on stuff that's not going to be beneficial. So I understand that. And like you said, yeah, the Wolves have been doing their own thing for 30 years now because, Don's been running the team. He's been owning the team for that long. And that's why he's so successful. You win 5 championships with the IHL and the AHL. And, you've got people like Courtney, who's been there for 29 years, Jason for 16. And of course you did lose, a lot of your, hockey staff. You had athletic trainer and all of them who've been there for 29, 30 years. I understand that. It stinks when you're like, okay, well, we're bringing our own guys in. And that's just the unfortunate part of when you make the agreement to let the Hurricanes run the hockey ops. They want their guys because they want to make sure they're having guys that are helping them fit the system in Chicago that's going to help translate to the NHL, because systems can be completely different when you go from American to the national, especially when you don't own a team like the Blackhawks own Rockford, or, you have name certain team owns this team because that's just how it works, like LA and Ontario. That's just one of those things where it's, like look at Calgary. Calgary literally has it has the NHL and their AHL team in the same building at this point. Even Manitoba with the Winnipeg Jets. So it's, like you said, it's a tough situation to be in where it's like where you look at the league now where it's, it's very, you want to go win Calder Cups, but it's a very developmental heavy league now, to where you see it was like 5 years ago, where it's like, no, we'll have some guys down there and then it's just running like how you want, essentially.
Yeah, you can see in the trend of NHL teams owning their own AHL teams just becoming more and more commonplace. And a lot of these high draft picks that end up in the American League for a certain amount of time, there's more money involved. There's more just a hands-on approach, just more focus on development. That these games are really super crucial to a lot of these young players. Take a look at some of the guys who missed out on a lot of that development with Carolina last year. Jamison Reese having to
get traded
because he couldn't have that crucial year in the system with the coaching staff. I think he could have definitely been a bottom 6 player here, especially with Jesper Fast's injury, to really have shown up for the Hurricanes. Didn't have that year last year, so it goes down on the wayside. So I again, it's not your father's AHL anymore. This is a completely different league. This is just how business is run now, and the leagues kind of force these two teams together.
Essentially, that's what it was. That's from what Don was saying. It sounded like there's no other teams. You have to go back to Carolina.
There are no other options. Chicago used to bounce from affiliation to affiliation. Well,
that's pretty much
because of the way that this league is now. Again, every team is happy with their affiliate, so you can't really just okay. Well, I'm done playing with Carolina. I'm going to go over here to St. Louis or whatever the case used to be in the past. That option just isn't available anymore.
No, well, especially when you got the Iowa Wild, Texas Stars, Ontario Reign, the Calgary Wranglers. like you said, at this point, look at the Bridgeport Islanders. They literally brought the Fishman logo back. I have a good assumption that connection is going to stay along for around time. It's just one of those things where the Charlotte Checkers are still kind of carrying the Hurricanes colors, but they keep re-upping their contract with the Panthers. It's just, you can't kind of bounce around like you used to. ECHL, maybe because there's not enough teams, and it's kind of that's a whole different enigma of itself. But it's just, like I said, it's like we're not trying to paint any one side into a bad picture here. It's just we're trying to, I guess, for people trying to understand like how does this go from being the team's reconciled, let's work together for the next 3 years, and you got Cam Abbott, who's a rookie head coach. You got this flow of really high end talent with Nadeau, Unger Sorum, Gleb Trixov. You look at you get Ronan Seeley back. He's been there. He's an assistant captain this year. Great for him. Love to see it. I'm a big Ronan Seeley guy myself, so it's great to see the A on his jersey. But then, of course, you got Scott Morrow, and you you keep running down the list of guys, and it's kind of like, it's kind of surprising, like you said, it's game one, and you get these comments, and I know the crazy part too is that I know for both of us, I know especially for you, I know you didn't see this coming when you get Jeff Merrick, Sarah Sivian, and Scott
Wheeler
all quoting your stuff, and I'm like, oh, we've had a different stratosphere of, because like you said, you were just trying to put out some cool, like you wanted to put, because he's talking about the affiliation, and then it's like, oh, and now it's like
Yeah.
what do you like? I want to get your thoughts. How is like what was your first thought when you see, oh, here's Jeff Merrick and then Sarah Sivian and Scott Wheeler posting your stuff, and you're like, oh boy.
You don't get that a lot in the AHL, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And so usually when there's, kind of a broader national attention on it, it's unfortunately usually not something that's very good. It's something that gets people getting like, oh, that was bad. And
yeah, and look, it's we're not. I've never talked to Don yet. I'm hoping to talk to him at some point on the show, but from what I've heard, everyone loves him. Great, puts the team first, puts the fan base first. So, yeah, not here to talk bad about Don. It's the situation in general where you're like, okay, I see what you're trying to do, but also, why?
I don't see what he's trying to do. I don't understand the necessity of.
Well, because I guess that's the first game of your affiliation. You want to try to get your face out there. Kind of get fans drummed up for the season.
Well, how does that work when you go out there and you say they're going to get steamrolled?
Well, not that. I'm not saying that. I'm just. It's like
why?
Yeah. The way it came out, yes. It's like you want to, They asked about their affiliation. You kind of figure, okay, yeah, it's not. There was some growing pains. There was a bump in the road, and you have to come back together and work it out. But yeah, like I said, I thought I could see where it was like, okay, let's try to bring him out. Let's get the face of the owner out there. Try to get this whole situation out of the way, talk about it a little bit, and move on. And yeah, like you said, it didn't go as we thought it was. Like I said, we're not trying to paint Don in a bad light or paint the Wolves or whoever. It's just it's just an interesting situation where I know people are going to be asking, okay, someone's got to talk about it, and I feel like it's yeah, that's why I'm like, hey Andrew, you got time? Essentially,
I always got time.
Yeah,
I've been on the beat since October of 2020 or so. It's been 4 years now, and it's always been a class organization.
100%. Yeah,
they were my first beat. Obviously, I cover Grand Rapids as well, but they provided me with some fantastic memories. I've met some wonderful people. It's a fantastic organization, and I hope that the Carolina fans can remember that. It's obviously it's a very tough
situation
over this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's no way to really kind of sugarcoat it at this point. And what I was hoping he would talk about, and what I want, all the fans out there, whether you're Carolina or Chicago, you want to see this team succeed and do well. These are your players at the end of the day.
Yeah.
They're both of your players, whether you're a Hurricanes fan or a Chicago fan. So, I'm rocking the Canes polo and the Wolves hat to try and bring everyone to
a little kumbaya moment.
Solidarity here, because I tell you what, my mentions over the last about 36 hours have been pretty rough. So
I mean, hey, at least it's not directed at you per se. I mean,
no, it's not. No. It's not me. It's it's whether you're going at Don or Tom. Or anyone, which way, that way or the other, fans going at each other. W's are going to cure everything, and if this team starts piling up the wins and the points, we're going to forget about these comments in a month's time. If they start losing early, then it could get a little uglier. But we'll put that out of the way for now.
Let's hope that they go into Hershey on Saturday and get that first W of the season and kind of move on from there. Yeah, it's like I said, I've been, kind of watching the Wolves, of course, because, working with you, you had the beat. I'm like, cool, I'll watch in the distance. This year, kind of, career changes and now covering the Wolves. Not as much as you because I'm too busy with all of the Hurricane stuff, but I'm still trying to do some Wolves stuff here and there, especially with the podcast. And it's like, yeah, even for the short stint I've been, kind of covering the Wolves in terms of, Wolves Wednesdays or the column that's coming up soon. Everyone's been class act. Courtney's been great. Jason, both Chris's, everyone's been really nice. So yeah, I want it to work out for both sides. And I want the fan bases to have fun, interact with each other because, during the Calder Cup run, everyone's like, oh, high-fiving the Wolves fans. Wolves fans are high-fiving Canes fans. Everyone's loving it, all this. And then it's just the last 2 years, man, it's just been like just snipe jobbing everyone here left and center. And, you're hoping for the next 3. Maybe it calms down. Maybe you get, like you said, get some dubs. Let's see how the next 3 years go. And, maybe it'll work out in the end. But I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely a situation. And I'm curious to see how long, like you said, a news cycle usually lasts about 24 to 48 hours. I'm curious to see how much longer this will carry on. Of course, it's also social media, and people don't forget. So this could be a lingering thing. So I guess we'll see. Like I said, unless wins do pile up, and John even said too that he hopes he's wrong, and they said they might be geniuses. So you know what? Maybe it'll be down the road where it's like, yeah, you know what? Maybe it was a jump in the gun moment or whatever it is, what it is. But yeah, it's just. I don't know. Like I said, I want to work out for both sides. I think both organizations. I understand where they're both coming from in terms of what they want to do. And the Wolves, they've won championships. They know what it's like. But of course, like you said, things change. Hurricanes want to win. They want to go win a Stanley Cup, but they want to make sure that their prospects that they're picking are ready to go. So I understand that, and you kind of look at both sides. It's just it's a very interesting situation to try to handle. And you're like, all right, everyone, like, can we all just get along here? Can we just not fight? It's like you're at the family barbecue and you're seeing your uncles fighting with each other. You're like, oh, great. Uncle Tom and Uncle Don are back at it again. You're like, oh boy. So
yeah, it's unfortunately, when you have kind of divorce going through with two parents, when you throw barbs like that, it's the kids that suffer the most. So
yeah, we're like, don't make us suffer, guys. We want you to be happy. We want you guys to just work it out, and can we just have a good time? Can we just enjoy hockey? Can we let other fan bases worry about their nonsense? But I don't know. Like I said, this was not so much of painting anyone in a bad light or stuff like that. It's just kind of okay, we have to how do we get here? Why did this get here and stuff like that? And and it's like I said, it's understandable. Both sides have their reasons why they're kind of not really happy with each other. Things didn't really work out how they thought, but it is what it is. Now you're with each other for the next 3 years. Hopefully this is just a blip on the radar and we see some playoff runs from both teams. But yeah, I don't know. It'll definitely be something to keep an eye on for sure as the season goes along. Maybe like you said, Andrew, that it's just it happened. We're past it now. Got the playoffs coming up months down the road, and hopefully it works out. But yeah, it's what can you do? Well, welcome to hockey.
Just continue to watch, support the team, and hey, who knows? Maybe this weekend in Hershey they go out and run kind of like a major league type thing where it's hopefully not with the cardboard cutout of Don Levin and the locker room, but maybe it'll get these guys some bulletin board material where it's like, okay, if this is what your owner's saying about you, go out into the ice and prove him wrong. And
as I say, just go win the whole dang thing. Of course, hey, if you go and beat up the two-time defending champion of the Hershey Bears at home, not going to be upset about that. So
that'd be a statement. That would be a statement.
And I cannot imagine the chat rooms at Calder times when that does happen. And you're like, ooh, look at that. The Chicago Wolves beat the Hershey Bears in Hershey.
I just need something to one up Corey. It's been a long 2 years, man.
It's been 84 years, man. No, I totally understand that. But Andrew, thank you so much for coming on. I know it was kind of like a, hey, are you free tomorrow night to talk about this? So I do appreciate you jumping on for our, like, I guess, semi-Wolves Wednesday, because we did talk a lot about the Hurricanes as well, just because of the fact that they did play the New Jersey Devils like not even a half hour ago. So it's kind of like a pseudo Wolves Wednesday, not a full one, but we're still going to count it as one because a lot of it has been about the Chicago Wolves for the most part. But I do appreciate you coming on, man. It's always fun talking. And hopefully next time it's more of a, hey, look who scored some goals and got some wins for the Chicago Wolves. So hopefully it's a little bit more of a, hey, let's do some prospect talk instead of, hey, by the way, so those videos.
Yeah.
It's funny when I first messaged you, you're like, I thought that we were going to talk about prospects. It's like, well, we could if we didn't have only one game and we're still 4 days away from the next. Yeah, way to go, AHL schedule. Here's your one game, and then you have a week off. Like, sure, I guess. And you thought the AHL scheduling was weird. Welcome to the AHL.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't envy Jason trying to have to be like, okay, how am I going to do 3 teams in 3 days? And they're all different ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those 3 and 3s are I can't imagine, not even just the players, but just the support staff that goes into it. That's a stretch, man.
Yeah, trying to do the prep work with him and Chris, trying to be like, all right, how do we pronounce all these names? We got to do it within a certain stretch of time, but. Yeah, but like I said, hopefully next time we have you on, it's more about prospects and not taking pot shots at other managements. But before we let you go, Andrew, where can, of course, people find you and what you got going on with the Calder Times in terms of podcasts and other stuff too?
Yeah. We all of my written work can be found at thecaldertimes.com. Our staff covers the entire AHL there. They do an absolutely tremendous job. And
can't confirm as a former person who worked there.
Yeah, and on Twitter sphere, you can find me in my little @ down there. And yeah, during the season I live tweet Wolves games. I'm sharing clips of interviews with players and coaches when I'm in town for the games. And I generally enjoy chatting with all the fans. I've been busy for the last, couple days, so I'm sorry if I haven't gotten anyone's questions out there or anything. I tried my best, but your notifications have been blowing up a little bit there, Andrew. So kind of understandable. It's like I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you when I get a second. Just please bear with me. But yeah, you can find all our stuff there. We're going to be running the AHL pre-shows, podcast with my partner Deanna McFerrin and myself. A lot of chaos, a lot of fun, and we just kind of cover what's going on around the AHL in general. And there's a lot of pop culture references from her. I try and match her energy when I can. It can be tough at times, but
yeah, no, D is essentially.
She's something else.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you want to keep tabs on the league, make sure to go check out their podcast. Sorry, I had to. It was too easy.
I like it. That was a solid. I might steal that one.
Hey, you know what? Have at it. Yeah, I'll just make sure you send me some residuals on that one. But yeah, you can follow me at #OneTrueZach on X. Andrew Rinaldi, because he didn't say it. It's Andrew _Rinaldi_ for the people who are on the audio side of things. If you're not on YouTube, yeah. Well, tell the other Andrew Rinaldi to stop taking your other your underscore, because apparently there's more than one of you, which is still crazy to think. But at least you're not Zach Martin, the most basic name ever. Thanks, Mom and Dad. But the podcast is L_Hurricanes. I do have links here in my bio where you can find all my stuff at the Hockey Writers, or just go to thehockeywriters.com. All Carolina Hurricane stuff. I know, coming back from vacation, rolling right into 5 days in a row at work. I'm going to try to get to Hurricanes articles. Guys, just bear with me. It's it's kind of tough when you're trying to podcast and go to work and find time to do that as well at the same time. But later this week, I'll get more of those out. The first Wolves Weekly will be out this weekend. Hopefully Friday, Saturday, probably Sunday. So make sure to stay on the lookout for that. That's the first one that's coming out very soon. There's other links to my other podcasts, the Surgecast, or you just go look up the Surgecast on podcast platforms and on YouTube. For this show, Locked on Hurricanes on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen. Make sure to leave a 5-star rating and review because I might just read on the show. For YouTube, subscribe, hit the bell notifications so you don't miss the show. Hit the thumbs up button. Let me know if you like the episode as well. Let me know what your favorite moment of the Carolina Hurricanes 4-2 win against the New Jersey Devils was. I know for me, it's Jackson Blake's first NHL goal, and it's a game winner as well. But let me know what you think. And, make sure to do that. Share the podcast with other Caniacs to become everydayers just like you, because we are fun. We are over 1,000 subscribers. Make sure to stick around because I got some very exciting news because of us hitting 1,000. So make sure to stick with that. Well, let's get more subscriptions up. Let's hit 2,000. 5,000. Let's keep this thing rolling. But that will do it for a Wednesday episode of Locked On Hurricanes, or Wolves Wednesday-ish show. Hope everyone enjoyed it. Hope everyone was a great Wednesday. Andrew, as always, thank you for coming on, man. Always good talking Chicago Wolves with you. And until next time, as always, let's go Canes. And, of course, let's go Wolves.